Hello everyone. Let us start with the second part of tuberculosis. So, um, initially we'll try to revise few things from first part of lecture on tuberculosis. So, you all know that the common organs which are affected by tuberculosis are lung. We call it as pulmonary tuberculosis. In abdominal tuberculosis, it is intestine which is commonly gets affected. Then lymph nodes is another common site. Apart from these common sites, there are less common uh, organs like bones, urogenital system, central nervous system, skin. In the bone, especially spine, is a common site where you can find tuberculosis. Tuberculosis could be primary tuberculosis in which the individual has not been previously infected or exposed to the bacteria or tuberculosis antigen by immunization. Post-primary or secondary tuberculosis is the one in which the person is initially exposed to the infection or is immunized against tuberculosis. In primary tuberculosis, lung is the most common site affected. You must have heard of Ghon's complex. The Ghon's complex uh, is a complex containing of three things. First is the pulmonary component, which is called as Ghon's focus. This is the site in lung where the bacteria are infected. Second part of the complex is the lymphatics, through which bacteria can traverse from Ghon's focus to the regional lymph nodes. And third component is obviously the lymph nodes. Okay, so in primary tuberculosis, you can see this Ghon's complex, and it is the mediastinal lymph nodes which can show you big enlargement, because this is a first infection. The person has not been exposed to the antigen before. It is the lymph node where it reacts the most, and you will see large lymphadenopathy in the hilar region. Histopathology is already been taught. I am just going to revise. You will see a lot of granuloma, as tuberculosis is the granulomatous inflammation. You will see the slipper shaped epithelioid cells. There is a collection of epithelioid cells which we call it as granuloma. These epithelioid cells combine and can form a large giant cell which is multinucleated. When these giant cells have a horseshoe shaped arrangement, we call it as Langhans type of giant cell. Apart from epithelioid cells, Langhans giant cells, you can see fibroblasts, lymphocytes and plasma cells around them. So what happens to primary tuberculosis? It heals by fibrosis very commonly. It can progress and progressive form primary tuberculosis, and it behaves like any other bacterial pneumonia. It can spread through through the hematogenous route into the other organs. We call it as miliary spread, and it can remain uh, silent for years, and there could be reactivation of this primary tuberculosis focus after many years. So this is pictorial presentation of the same. First is healing by fibrosis. It can progress into a progressive primary tuberculosis, like a pneumonia-like picture. It can spread to other organs called as miliary spread, and there could be future reactivation of primary focus leading to secondary tuberculosis. So secondary tuberculosis, as I said before, this is the infection in which the person has got infected before by the tuberculosis or is immunized against tuberculosis. So this second route of entry could be exogenous, that is from outside the body, or could be reactivation of the previous Ghon's complex or primary tuberculosis complex. So the exogenous infection comes from inhalation. Okay, from inhalation it goes into trachea to the lungs, and there it lodges into the upper part of, or the apical part of upper lobes, where there is a high oxygen area. Endogenous can occur, endogenous spread can occur from activation of previous silent Gons focus, from where it goes into the apical region of the upper lobes, and it can form secondary tuberculosis lesion. So this post-primary or secondary tuberculosis can have different morphological forms. Most common is fibrocaseous tuberculosis, tuberculosis caseous pneumonia, or miliary tuberculosis. Fibrocaseous tuberculosis is the most common one, in which in the apical parts of upper lobe of lungs you will see a cavitatory lesion, the wall of which is fibrosed. The central part of the lesion shows liquefaction or there is a caseous necrosis. If this lesion is connected to the airways, then the central necrotic debris is released in that airway and it is coughed out by the patient, and it can form a central cavitatory lesion. So you can see both cavitatory and non-cavitatory lesions in these patients. If it is cavitatory lesion and directly connecting to the airways, then it becomes open case of tuberculosis, in which the tuberculous bacteria can enter from that cavitatory lesion into the air route, into the bronchus, trachea, and through the sputum they can be spitted out. We can diagnose this open case of tuberculosis by doing acid fast staining on sputum. Microscopically, you will see that this cavitatory lesion is showing a fibrous wall, and you can see those slipper-shaped nuclei of epithelial cell. There is a collection of epithelial cell. You can see Langhans giant cell, which are multinucleated big cells, along with lymphocytes, plasma cells, and in lower right area you can see pink homogeneous acellular granular material, which is caseous necrosis. In caseous pneumonia, there will be generalized spread to the lung parenchyma, and you will see that there are these foci which composed of a few epithelial cell, extensive caseous necrosis. There will be lot of neutrophils and it will have pneumonia-like picture. Miliary tuberculosis is the one in which through the hematogenous spread there is spread of tuberculous bacilli into different organs. It can spread in the remaining part of lung, to liver, to kidney, to spleen, and even to the vertebra. You will see tiny millet seed-like lesions 1 to 2 millimeter in diameter in different organs. Microscopically, these millet-like lesions will show you granulomas composed of epithelial cells with central caseous necrosis, Langhans giant cells, lymphocytes, and plasma cells. Apart from lung, there are different organs which can get affected by tuberculosis. It is intestine, which gets commonly affected in abdominal tuberculosis. Various lymph nodes can show you tuberculosis. Bones, especially the spine, can show you tuberculosis, which is called as spot spine. Urogenital system, including kidney, central nervous system, like meninges. Then even in the skin you can see tuberculosis. So here are a few examples. In primary intestinal tuberculosis, as I said, in primary tuberculosis it is lymph node which show you enlargement. So you will see primary focus and there will be enlarged mesenteric lymph nodes, which is also called as tabes mesenterica. In secondary intestinal tuberculosis, it is hypertrophic kind of lesion in which there are transverse ulcers. Okay, remember T for tuberculosis, T for transverse, and these are stricturous lesions. So these patients generally present with obstruction. The wall of the intestine is thickened. It is generally seen at ileocecal valve, in which there is thickening of the cecal wall. You can also see multiple ulcers and adhesions in the cecal wall. So clinical manifestations of tuberculosis will depend on location, extent and type of lesion. You will see a lot of systemic features like fever, weight loss, cough with sputum or cough with hemoptysis, that is presence of blood in the sputum. The fever is present generally in the evening hours or night hours, and it is associated with chills. Patient will have night sweats, appetite loss, weight loss and fatigue. So how do we diagnose a case of tuberculosis? It is microscopy which will show you evidence of the bacteria. We do special stain called as Zeal-Nielsen or Zeden stain, which will stain this acid-fast bacilla into pink color, which we can pick on microscopy. We can even culture this bacteria. There are other methods of detection like radiometric method, serological test, PCR analysis. Tuberculin test can also be done, and it is not a diagnostic test of tuberculosis, it just shows the presence of immunity against the tuberculosis. So even the patients who are immunized against tuberculosis will show you tuberculin test positive. Histopathology, that is biopsy taken from the involved organ, can show the evidence of granulomas, and special stain will show presence of acid-fast bacilli. In guinea pig, we can inoculate this bacteria and can study their growth. So here is the microscopic picture of the Zeden stain, Zeal-Nielsen stain, in which you can see the pink colored bacteria. These are acid fast bacteria, and you need to have 20% H2SO4 for demonstration of this bacteria. So here you can see these some of the bacteria have a beaded appearance. This beaded appearance is because these bacteria are dead. This is another example in which you can see granuloma in the center with Langhans type of giant cells, lymphocytes, plasma cells. And which organ is this? Yes, it is the liver. So this is tuberculosis of liver. As I said, you can see involvement of tuberculosis in different organs. So here is again revision of the same. Please remember, in the microscopy of tuberculosis, which is very commonly asked in the exam, you need to describe all these features: collection of epithelioid cell, Langhans giant cell, lymphocytes, plasma cells, and fibroblast. So along with, when a patient present with signs and symptoms of tuberculosis, along with demonstration of tuberculosis bacilli, we need to also look for HIV, because in HIV patients it is very common to get tuberculosis, because these patients have very low immunity and they get very easily infected with tuberculosis. We also need to ask about the medical history. We need to do physical examination, bacteriologic or histologic examination, chest x-ray if indicated. If the patient is having symptoms of pulmonary tuberculosis, chest radiograph will show you the cavitatory lesion. In medical history, we need to know the HIV status, symptoms of the disease, like if the patient is having fever or weight loss, any history of tuberculosis exposure in the family or in the neighborhood, or if the patient is having tuberculosis history of tuberculosis in the past, if patient has taken any past tuberculosis treatment, if there is any demographic risk factor for tuberculosis, if that area where the patient stays is the high risk area for tuberculosis, any other medical condition which is related to decreased immunity, so that these patients have high risk to develop tuberculosis. So in the symptoms of pulmonary tuberculosis specifically, patients will have productive and prolonged cough. So patient will present with cough with expectoration or sputum. They will have chest pain. Sometimes they can have blood tinged sputum. It is because that those cavitatory lesions can rupture the adjacent blood vessels and can lead to a little bit of bleeding into those cavities, which can present as hemoptysis, and signs may vary based on the HIV status. So what specimens are collected in pulmonary tuberculosis? So obviously we need to examine the sputum. There are three sputum specimens needed. First is the spot, when the patient first comes for a visit. So first is the spot collection. Then we give two containers to the patient, and we ask the patient to give the next day early morning first morning sample of sputum with deep coughing. And third is when patient comes with the second sample to us, we get the third spot sample. We need to follow the infection control precautions during specimen collection, because this is a potentially biohazardous material containing bacteria. So how this sputum smear is examined? So this specimen should be sent to the lab immediately, so that we can preserve the quality of the specimen, and there are high chances to identify the tuberculosis bacteria. So always aim that the three specimens which we have collected from the patient, all the three specimens should be examined. These specimens are stored at cool temperature away from sunlight, so that the bacteria, the morphology of bacteria is not disturbed. And why these three specimens are collected? Because it increases detection of 90% of smear positive cases, that is open cases of tuberculosis. So this is again how acid-fast bacilli or tuberculosis bacilli are seen on Zeden stain or Ziehl-Neelsen stain. So here you can see uh, there is a high population of this tuberculosis bacilli, and they are present in almost in the clusters. So depending on the population of the bacteria, how many bacteria are present in the oil immersion fields, we can say we can judge the load of tuberculosis bacilli from 1 plus to 4 plus. The chest radiograph will show you, as you can see here in the picture, the upper or the apical part of upper lobe is showing a cavitatory lesion, and we can have a diagnosis, or the radiograph can help us in the diagnosis of tuberculosis, but we cannot solely diagnose tuberculosis on chest x-ray. We need to have a sputum examination or biopsy done for these patients. So these patients, when they have HIV, the picture of tuberculosis can be little different. Cultures can also be done for tuberculosis. So when a patient gets relapse, or if there is a failure in the treatment, or the patient is defaulter, you should do the culture to see the sensitivity of bacteria to the AKT which we give to the patients, because if the patient has become resistant to the AKT, we need to change the AKT to, or the anticox treatment to, different protocol. The culture is indicated for new and retreatment of pulmonary tuberculosis cases which are still smear positive at the end of intensive phase. Okay, intensive phase is the first phase of the treatment. If the patient is still positive after intensive phase, we need to do the culture and see whether the bacteria are sensitive for the treatment given. In the symptomatic context of known multi-drug resistant cases, culture is indicated. In children, the diagnosis is children, the protocol is same. Okay, we need to ask whether there is any family history of contact to the pulmonary tuberculosis, whether we have symptoms consistent with tuberculosis like cough with expectoration, or hemoptysis, weight loss, fever, night sweats. All these symptoms we need to ask for. We need to do HIV testing. Also, we do clinical examination, Montauk's test or tuberculin test, which is an intradermal test. We introduce a tuberculosis antigen in the skin, and we look for reaction. Then we also do bacteriological confirmation by doing sputum examination, and also investigate for pulmonary tuberculosis or extrapulmonary tuberculosis depending on which organ is suspected to have tuberculosis. So in the children there are risk factors, like if they have any household contact of smear positive tuberculosis, if any of the family members have tuberculosis, obviously these children have high risk to develop tuberculosis. Age less than 5 years, because obviously immunity is not very good. HIV infection, if the children are of HIV of positive HIV status, and severe malnutrition because it affects the immunity. So, what are the key features of tuberculosis in children? So, all the presence of three or more of the following should strongly suggest diagnosis of tuberculosis. If the baby has chronic symptoms suggestive tuberculosis, if there are physically signs highly suggestive tuberculosis, if you have positive tuberculin skin test, that means the baby has been exposed to tuberculosis antigen before, and chest x-ray if it is suggestive tuberculosis, then you should definitely screen this patient further for tuberculosis.